Okay, good evening everyone. Am I audible today? Is my voice fine?
Yes, it's fine.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's get started. I will we just wait for it to get back. Okay, so today we're going to be learning the very basics of Arduino programming or just the very basics of C language. So let's get started with the very first thing, that is data types and variables. Data types are the syntaxes which we use to define what kind of data we want to work with. These can be in the form of integers, decimals, true false operators, character operators. So to define each one of them, we use the data types as int. So for int, we define the data type as an integer. It has a range of negative 328 to negative, this range negative 32768 to 32767. This is because there's some two's complement issue with this. That's why it only accepts a range that long. Secondly, we have float. Float is basically an integer which contains a decimal value. So, for example, let's say 3.14. So, those of the 0.14 will hold this value in a float data type rather than an integer. Okay. Then we have Boolean or
okay.
this.
Hello.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to tell something. If it can store till 32767, it's just 6 digit numbers. Now, why can't it store for 32768 or something?
Yeah, it
Why
can.
can't
You'll
it
have to
store
add a
for
long
all
in front of it. You have to add a long in front of it.
Excuse me.
No, I'm talking
No, no.
about ends. I'm talking about ends.
Here's the thing. This has a range because it has to cater for the two's complement, then the one's complement, then the sign unit. Okay. If you're not in 11, 12, you would have a hard time understanding what it is. So I won't go into that much detail. And same goes for the negative numbers, all of which the C standard will allow. Okay. So that's why it has the range of the same number. It's not really explainable to that extent unless I really go into the depth with the math and everything. So I'm just gonna not bother with it. Was anyways, you guys won't be using characters like even upward of 10,000 or something. Okay, especially in the code you'll be writing at least for the rest of the session. So that's it about the int range. Does anyone have any issues with int or float or any of the and byte? Byte is just you don't need to know it right now. It has a range of 0 to 25. We don't. If you have any issue, you can always DM me later. But yeah, I really don't see any upside of teaching double now. You can go to the next slide. If anyone has any doubt with the previous slide, please mention. Anyway, let's start with how we'll be running the code in the IDE. So if you guys open your IDE, you will see at the top right corner, there is a magnifying glass type image. Okay, magnifying glass type button. It's a serial monitor. It's basically the terminal output of your Arduino IDE. This is where you see how your code is executed and what's the output. If you open it, it won't show anything yet unless you execute a code which has the following syntaxes in it. So printing out to the serial string in the IDE. So to initialize or to allow the serial communication between Arduino and the PC, you need to provide the syntax serial.begin 9600 followed by serial.println or print. The difference between println or print is that a println will just will just keep an extra line of space between this output machine and second one. We'll see the use of it in the future code. Don't worry. Serial.begin 9600 is just a syntax to memorize it whenever you want to work with the serial monitor. Okay. So if you see in the right, I have written the code serial.begin 9600, then serial.println. C is case sensitive, and if I upload it to the Arduino and then open the serial monitor, it will give me the output of C is case sensitive, which is the one I wrote in the quotation marks. Now, does anyone have any doubt with what I've said till now, or would like to add anything?
What was the difference between print and println again?
Println will basically print out an extra empty line between the previous output, so its output and the output after it. Don't worry if it's a bit unclear now. I'll screen share the code later, and you guys will be able to understand pretty clearly. Okay. Any other doubts?
Can you please explain again the entire thing?
Entire thing. Okay, so if you open, actually, let me just screen share it for once. I should be fine. Okay, so is my ID visible?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so can you see my mouse in the top right part of the screen? Huh? If I click on this button,
Yes.
yeah, sorry, was anyone saying anything? Okay, I guess not. So if I click on this button, it will open the serial monitor, which brings up this screen. Can you? I hope you guys can see this one. Yeah. Okay. So what I've written here is to communicate the Arduino with. You guys can't see the screen.
It's visible.
Acha.
Yeah, we can see.
No. I meant
Yes.
the serial monitor one.
No, not the serial monitor. I think you have
Okay.
to share that window
Yeah.
also.
That's the problem. Okay. You know what? I'll just share my entire screen. That shouldn't be an issue. What about now?
I have a question. Is
Go
the
ahead.
syntax of serial.println similar to printf?
Printf, you can see that you don't need to worry about similarities that much. If you have experience working with C or C++ or
I
C Sharp,
have.
then yeah, then it shouldn't be that hard to understand. Serial dot begin to communicate with the serial output,
Is there any
and
documentation I can find anywhere?
yeah, you can search it. It's probably in the Arduino website itself.
Okay.
Okay, so back to my point. I hope you guys can see my entire screen now. So the coder, you don't have to worry about the code that much. Let's remove this part. And serial.print, let's say 3. Okay. Much. Okay, so I've written this code to print the character A. So I give serial.begin 9600 to allow the Arduino to communicate with this serial monitor, serial.println A to give it what value I wanted to print out. So as I said, top right corner, you'll find the serial monitor, open it. Before that, upload the code to the Arduino. I don't need to worry about that much. So it's compiled and it's uploaded to Arduino. You have to make sure that the Arduino is connected to your PC while you are uploading it, or else it will give an error. And then open serial monitor, then give the output as A, which I have initialized here, serial.println A. Okay, any doubt till now? Sure, it's fine, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'll stop my screen share then. Aniruddha, go back. Continue. Okay then. So let's talk about variables. Variables are just virtual containers that we use to store our characters, integers, floats, anything. We have to define a variable by which data type we want to store within it. So if you want to store the integer data type, you have to write int followed by my variable name equal to my integer. If you look at the bottom right of the screen, you'll find the example. The character, I'll give my variable name I'll give my variable name, which provides me help with the character equal to then the character within quotations. Or if we want to input a number as a character, we can even do that. Just remove the quotation marks. And float, same as that, just just number with decimals. And I don't think I have this code written right now. So what will happen is in the void setup part, I've given serial.print begin, that's to communicate with the monitor. Then serial.println my variable and my char +1 and float variable. This will print out 10, then the ASCII value of a +1 and the float. So I think it is clear why I am using variables instead of the original uh, character or the integer, because it allows me to work with them much more freely. I can store the values first and provide operations on them later, which we'll learn about later. So let's read through the entire slide. Variable can classified as the global or local variable. No, second output will not be NAND. I'll explain the second output later. I'll explain it I'll just finish with this slide and then I'll go back to it. So you can declare a variable either before void setup, in void setup, or even in void loop. Depending on that, the variable can be classified as either global or local. Okay, global variable is just that which is initialized outside void loop and or void setup both, and local variable will be that which is initialized either in void setup or void loop. It's a difficult concept as of now. We have already discussed the syntax to define the variables. How can we globalize a local variable? You will not globalize a local variable. Why will you do that? You will just write the variable in either void loop or void set, and it will automatically become a local variable. You can call variables from the global unit to your void loop or void setup block. That won't be easy. That's why in some cases you may prefer to use global variables, such as variables you don't want to change throughout the code. Sorry, your strategy you don't want to input constantly throughout the code, or in local cases, it's based on a preference. I prefer to just use local variables instead, or as we'll see later, I even prefer you guys not to use hash variables. That's a different case. Okay, back to the question that I was asked about the second output. It's actually an increment decrement function. I'll talk about it a bit later. We'll go back to this slide once more. Let's just keep going for now. Yeah. So arithmetic operators, we can do the variables we learned just before. We'll use them to perform arithmetic operations rather than just using the integers or the floats directly, because it provides a much more better user-friendly experience than just manual inputting 1 into 5 into 7 divided by 3 or something. So arithmetic operators, we have just listed 5 here. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulus. Hopefully you guys are familiar with this. If anyone is not, please type in the chat or speak up. Okay, so the main point why I want to discuss arithmetic operators is the increment or decrement function. Increment or decrement can be called at either the beginning of a variable or at the end of a variable. So for example, if I have a variable known as my character, and if I have given it a value of 2, I can write plus plus my character or my character plus plus on both sides, as I've given the example 2. I prefer to write my character plus plus because if we are using that in a print statement, it will increment the value by 1 in the latter case rather than the former case, because there we're telling it to increment it first, then writing the character. Which, if you guys know how code works, the code first goes from top to bottom, then goes from left to right. So in case of first one, it's from top to bottom. So serial.print, but then it is going first increment, then print my character. So it will just print the base character itself without incrementing a value by 1. Rather than the second case, it is going first top to bottom, serial.print, then then it is going from left to right. So increment my character, then increment it, so it will print my character plus 1. Okay, the reason I'm telling you guys about this my character stuff is I must plus this moment. Anyway, I just write up a small code here. Just give me a second, okay? No. ASCII is a form of notation like binary, hexadecimal, stuff like that. If you can look up an ASCII table, it is basically the conversion of each and every number into a number sequence. Like if I remember correctly, Okay. Anyway, so what I was saying is, if we input a variable my character, so car space my variable equals to quotation a, and we print it out as serial.print, and if you print it out as serial.print and then my character plus plus, no, I'm not screen sharing this one. If I write car, then my character equals to a in quotations and print it out with increment of 1. So it will first convert my a into an ASCII character, that is, I think it was what, 65 or something, and it will print out 66. So it will increment the value by 1. We normally just use this increment function in the void loop or any looping function anyway, to make it easier for us to increment the value as we go on. You guys will be using this in projects where you have to increment the speed for a specific time. So that's when you guys can use either increment or just add heading and then loop it. So that's about it actually. You guys can take a screenshot of this if you guys are having some trouble understanding, and get back to me later if that's fine with you. So arithmetic operators, that's all about it. I think we can go on. Does anyone have any issues till now?
No.
No issues? Okay, let's go on. Next slide. So why do we use the code in void setup rather than void loop? For experimental purposes, till now we'll be running. Yeah, we'll get back to you with the motor. We'll attend and post an extra doubt clearing class with you. Don't worry about it. Okay. So simply put, if we putting code in void setup will basically execute the code once compared to putting loop in void loop, which will execute the code multiple times. As long as the Arduino has power, we input our code in void setup as it is easier to work with because. Yeah, so anybody has any doubt about when to use code in void loop and when to use code in void setup?
Yes.
You have doubt?
Sorry, no doubt.
Okay, okay. Anyone else? Let's see.
No.
Shiv Shankar Prasthi, do you have any doubt?
No.
Okay. It's okay. What about you know what? It's probably fine. Yeah, Aryaman, do you have any doubt?
None.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So global constant, we define this as constant int or such constant data type, then variable name equals to the input. These functions you can declare anywhere, but you cannot alter them in the code. So you cannot write like my variable equals to my variable plus one or my variable plus plus in that case, because it's a constant value and you cannot change it. The other type of constant, yes, like other type of constant function is to use the hash define function. You can use a hash define variable name followed by the input. You don't have to put a data type for it. Okay, so previously we left off with why we use why I prefer to use the global constant instead of hash define. Hash define doesn't cost any memory, so that's why people say it's a safer option. Not personally. I thought you just answer the question in chat. Anyway, next question. So next slide. Sorry, next slide. Okay, static variable. So while working in void loops, I prefer to use static variables because, as you can see, if we do not use static variable, then it will just go on from the loop over and over again. So if you follow the process of going from top to bottom, then left to right, top, we are defining a variable as 100, then we're going to increment the variable, then printing the variable with a delay of 1 second. So that will just give us the output of 101, as you can see, 100 increment by increment by 1, so 101, then printing it, then again going back and again defining it as 100 itself. So if we use if we use a static variable in place of what are currently now, so if you go to the next slide, we will define it as static followed by data type, variable name, and input. It will basically remember what value we had assigned it during the first loop and then work off of that. So if you give it a static, so it will run as 100, then increment by 1, print, and then print this. Then at the next time, it will remember that the final value of A we got was 101. So then it will work again from that as A plus plus, so 101 plus 1 is 102. And like that, it will keep on going. Unlike in the previous one, it was just 101, then another 101, then another 101. And this one, it will just keep incrementing the value one by one. This, as we said before, you can use this form of loop when you want to increase the value of, let's say, the LED or the power supply or the speed or the RPM of any motor you're working with. You'll be able to understand this stuff using the project very easily. Okay. Okay, so Boolean operators, nothing much to say about this. These are either true or false. In serial output, we'll find the value of true as 1 and false as 0. You don't have to worry much about this till now. You can use output to manipulate a code and to find out if any form of statement is instead of using statement. why can't we define global variables? As I said, we will be using static only in this while loop part, because in global variables, it will just keep on taking the value as the while we define itself, and it will give the same output as if we don't use a static variable. Okay, let me understand this better. In the global variable, it will just keep going from top. It will just take the value as that, and it will just loop it entirely, and it will keep the original value. That is the one we defined globally before so void loop and void setup both. So it will just, if we give a global variable defined as 100 and then increment by 1, it will just keep producing 101, the 101. And using the static variable in the loop as the local variable will provide us with the desired output as 100, 100, 200, like that. Understood? Okay, so next slide. That's it about Boolean operators. Does anyone have any doubt regarding Boolean operators or Boolean operators, as they call it? Okay, let's keep going on. Comparison and logical operators. These will be used one of the most when you want to limit any form of analog output from your Arduino. So they are, as we can see, greater than, lesser than, equal to, lesser than, equal to, greater than, equal to. Then we have the logical operators, that is not, and or. We'll be learning about, I'll be screen sharing to show you guys what I mean by this and, not, and or. Before that, I guess you guys understand greater than operator will give an output of either true or false. So for example, if we give print ln, then 5 is lesser than 8. So it will give out an output as 1, which if we go back to, which if we remember, output as 1 will give us the Boolean logic of 1 being true. So the value is true and it will give us 1 just as that. And same all the other goes for equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, just as it follows. Okay, I'll be sharing my screen now with the code which will explain how these logical operators work.
Yes, here. So Neil was asking if if you would stop the counting, right? Hello.
Okay, what was the question again?
Tony asked something about would that counting stop at any point? Ace
Why
ID.
would the counting really stop? It is in
Power
void
of the
loop,
Arduino, simple.
and the logically with the, we said that the void loop will execute until the Arduino is powered off, or yeah, that's until the Arduino is powered off. Until it is powered, it will just keep on looping, just like that. Anything else regarding the last 2-3 slides? Okay, so here I have a, so it may seem pretty long, but this is just a bunch of print statements. That's it. Here I'll be explaining what are the uses of the AND operators, not OR operators, and NOT operators. So if you just open the serial monitor, that's the output. So for AND operator,
Hello.
if I give the function, actually I will experimenting here just to. It will same output. So AND operator will provide a value of true or false if both of the statements are true, and only if both of the statements are true. If even one statement is false, then it will provide a false output. Okay, so first one we can see true and true, both are true, so the output is 1. That is also true. True and false, only one is true, so the output is false. Same goes for this, and same goes for last one where both are false, so the output is also false. AND operator is much more simpler one, and then we go on to the OR operator. OR operator will give out an expression of true when either of the other statements are true. So true and true will give a true as it has more than one true. True and false will give out a true as, oh, as one is true over here, and false and true will give out the same output as only as one is true here. False and false will give out false as neither is true here. And not operator is just not of true is false and not of false is true. I don't really prefer using not operators that much, but in some cases you may have to use not. You can use, mostly you'll be using and or operators, considering if a part of your code works and you want it to work for another part, then you can use this if value is 1 or 0 and run this code. We'll be seeing this in the do while loop cell later. Any issue with the code or the output?
No issues.
No issue. Yeah, this is the standard. You shouldn't be having any issue anyway. So that's the code for now. I'll send you guys a screenshot. I have to just clear the doubt in the chat. Okay, we got the answer. And the following slides will just be there for the people who are watching the video. We'll just be given the conditional, the control structures of the code, which are basically the visual representation of how a code works. That is, as you will see now, the if structure, the else structure, while and do while structure. Okay.
1 second, 1 second.
Yeah, okay. Asha, I think I was translation.
So continue करोगी?
हाँ दो part है.
अच्छा, okay.
Let's
अच्छा, ये.
screenshot will you be fine.
की?
These are just no, it's okay. Just stay on each slide, each slide for 5 seconds, and then go to the next slide for these ones.
We started loops now. So these are the structures, you can say. These are the basic structures of how the loop works. You don't have to take screenshots right now. You will just get it on Google if you just search these structures. Okay, so starting with loop.
Well, we've been suffering from C++ from class.
You have been suffering from Turbo C++. Okay, so we are starting with loops now. So as you can read here, a loop statement allows us to execute a statement of or group of statements multiple times. That is in a loop, like the name suggests. It loops the statement or condition. So there are 4 types of loops: the while loops, the do while loops, the for loops, and the infinite loops. We'll start with the infinite loop. As the name says, infinite loop. So you can just understand, right, that the loop has no end. So next is the for loop. This means that for a given condition, the loop will continue. Next is the do while loop. Okay, let's start with the while loop first. While loop expresses a condition we have to put in, and until the condition is proven false, the loop will continue. And the final one is the do while loop. The do while loop does a action based on a given condition. So do states the action it is supposed to do, while and the while statement says what the condition it is to be worked on. So let's go deep into these things. I'll not show anything more of the infinite loop. You can understand it, right? It's basically a loop with no end. Any doubts?
No.
Okay,
No doubt.
wait, I'll show this first. Okay, so we start with the for loop. So this is a code written based on the for loop. And as Devesh taught you all, we have taken a data type variable, integer data type, and the variable is I. It can be anything. You don't have to worry about the variable. So we are going straight to the for command now. It is stated that for the conditions I equals to 0, that is I starts from 0, not below, not more than 0, I has to be 0. And then the next condition is I has to be less than 10, that it should go till before 10. Like you can see in the output, it is gone till 9. And then the increment value, so I++ means the value will increase from 0. So these three will help us execute the program. And these are as CVS taught you to print the output. So do you have any doubts on how the conditions work or what the conditions mean?
No doubts.
Okay. Okay. What if I equals to 10 and let's say I less than 10 and I is plus plus? What will be the output? Less than 20, I mean. I equals to
Then
10,
from
I less
10
than
I
20
less
A
than
plus
what?
plus.
then
I
from
le-
10 to 19.
10 to
Yes,
19.
correct. Okay, so the next loop. So this is how while loops work. So as I told you, while loops work on a condition given by us. So here we have taken the integer data type variable sum and the value of sum is 0. So the while statement is used with a condition in the brackets that the sum is the variable here. Sum should be less than 25. So while the sum is less than 25, the sum should be added with 5. Until the sum exceeds 25, the loop will not stop. So while sum less than 25, then sum equals to sum plus 5. So it prints the sum, and delay means that after every 0.5 seconds, the output will print. So the sum starts from 5. It can start from anything, but since we have started from 0, it's starting from 5 here, and it ends till 25. It will not exceed it anymore. Did you understand? Okay. If I set the integer value to, let's say, 10, and the sum should be less than 50, what will be the outcomes?
10, 20, 30, 40, 50.
15 to 50.
Sorry, what?
It would be 15 to 50.
15 to 15. I was not
Hmm.
able to hear.
Yes.
That's a
15 to
What?
50.
Sum equal to 15 and it land at 50. Sum equal to 50.
if the sum is 10 and the while condition states that the sum will continue until the number 50, so it will increase with 10, 15, 20, 30, 25, right?
Up to
Hmm.
50.
I got you now. Okay. No more doubts, right? While loop.
No.
Did you understand how
No
it is
doubts.
different from for loop?
Yeah. Understood.
Okay. Everyone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So next is the do while loop. So do while loop is just an advanced version of the while loop. Here it states the action based on the condition. So we have taken the integer variable
While
multiply.
is nothing but it at least like executes the loop at least once before not executing.
It runs it before checking the condition.
Yes. Okay. So since you know integer multiple is the variable here and the value is 1. So we have used the do command here. Do, so the multiple will print here. Now the do states that the action should be the multiple should be multiplied by 2. Did I confuse you? Multiple and multiply. Hello.
No problem.
Okay, so the variable will be multiplied by 2. So the variable increases, variable plus plus increment sign. Now we come to a condition. Do states the action, and now the while state will state the condition. the while states that the variable multiple should be less than 10. So here it might confuse you that the outcome has to be less than 10, but actually the variable we have given it should be less than 10. That is, the number we can multiply with 2 at max should be 10. So see, the outcome here is 20. So this is basically the do while loop. Did you understand? Any doubts?
No, no doubts.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on one second.
Okay, guys, I'll be taking over for some while or anything like that. That's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So where did you leave off? I think it was here. Uh, guys, where was I at the stop? Which part did we do last?
I
Can you
think
invite-
it was like while
We
loop.
did do while.
While loop.
While loop. Okay. Do while loop. Okay, so which part of
This was
do
all
while loop were you?
completed.
Do while loop is completed.
No, this was also done. If you order this slide. Yeah.
But then we actually have nothing more. Okay, let's do with the arrays part. Um, so array is the collection of items stored at continuous memory location. Idea is to store multiple items of same type together. It basically allows us to access a list of items at using a single variable. It's much more easier to handle such such large number of integers in an array. That's why we use them. So how do we define an array? We define an array as data type, then array name, then in third bracket we write the maximum number of elements that should be in the array, equal to sign second curly bracket, and then the values, all different colors. Okay. So in the code over here, I have given serial.println my array and a value. This value denotes which position of the array I want to pop out. So if you go back to the array, if most of you guys have experience with Python, so we know that an array goes number wise as 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys know this notation, right? That inner list, these
Yeah.
numbers that is zeroth position, first position, second position. So in this one, we'll
Starts
be
from 0.
yes. So we'll be denoting. So we'll be popping out the number in the second position, that is 0, 1, then 2, which is 3, and the output will coming over as 3. You guys can also pop out these and do arithmetic operations on them, do logical operations on them. Then you guys can write int my array, then the position number equal to something else, and then print out the array. It will change the position of the number as this one. It is the same as any other coding structure which uses arrays or lists. Does anyone have any doubt with what I've said till now? Any doubt? Or you want to add anything?
No.
No doubt? Okay, so what I
Yeah,
will...
no doubt.
No doubt, too. So that's basically
Yeah,
the
no
end.
doubt.
Yeah, okay. So that's the end of our class. I think we got through everything. Does anyone want to go back? Do anyone want to go back to any slide to check something? Any slide? You can go over it once more. Don't leave now. We have nothing much to cover now. Next class, I won't be taking your classes. So Aniruddha and Rachma will take your classes. Just telling that for now. I think your next class will be on next week itself to compensate for the day we missed. So that's basically it. I'll edit and send over the recording to you by tomorrow 10 p.m. Hopefully 10 a.m. 10 p.m. whatever. That's it.
And
I'll
also increase the audio.
yes, I'll check it. I'll use it audio in the